Christine Lowther. I've lived in Tofino for 29 years, or this summer will be my 29th summer. I came in the summer of 92. I'm a writer. I write poetry and nonfiction, creative nonfiction, memoir, and nature writing. This is presented from prose, and it came in 2014 as the inaugural Rainy Coast Arts Award for Significant Accomplishment, and it means a lot to me to this very day. I'm the current Tofino Poet Laureate. My tenure goes from 2020 to 2022, so I guess I'm the COVID laureate. It felt like a really big responsibility. I really support the program, and it's a huge honor. It's a little different for me because I'm usually rebellious and not in a position of authority. Not that the Poet Laureate is a position of authority, at least not in my case. I really am thankful to the people who actually started the program because, wow, I couldn't believe how much work went into that. Then I joined the selection committee, and I helped select the first Poet Laureate, Joanna Streetley, and now I'm the second one. It's sort of like the town or the city's official poet, and there is, a job description and what's expected of you, what is permitted, and what is not. So, because of COVID, it's all different. I think Joanna did an amazing job as the inaugural Poet Laureate. In fact, maybe too good, because following her, impossible. So I've done some Zoom readings with open mics with different themes. But apart from that, I chose my main project. I've been working on that most of the time, and it's been so challenging because it's an anthology, and this time I'm not a co-editor, I'm just the editor, and oh my God, it's a lot. When I was about 5, my mother took my sister and I to picket this development because we wanted to save these 2 ancient trees. This was in South Vancouver. And then we didn't win. They took the trees down. The development went ahead. We lost our parents a couple years later. And I think I forgot all about that, but it's obviously been in my system that town trees are important. Forests are important too. Old growth forest is really, really important. Duh. But town trees are so important. Way back in 2001, the Millennium Tree, I don't know if you've heard of it, was cut down. All the school kids were just really devastated because they would go there for outings and field trips. And I looked across the street from where the Millennium Tree was, and I saw the Ike Cedar, 800 years old. So not 1,000 years old, but still an amazing old growth tree. And I thought, it's next. I know it's next. So we started this group, and we had to get these guys up into, I had to actually stand in front of the chainsaw first, but then these guys went up and lived in the tree for 35 days, and my council were suing me. And anyway, eventually we saved the tree. We had to put this huge iron harness on it. The trouble you have to go to save one old growth tree in a biosphere reserve. Many, many years on, 2017, I just started noticing all the trees coming down in Tofino and the airport for the multi-use path, and for along Rice Bay Road, for the hospital, helipad, just coming down like dominoes, and this apartment building where I am right now, everywhere. And so when I got the Poet Laureate gig, I was just like, gee, I wonder what my project is going to be. I did get arrested for the forest way back in 92 out at Clackwood Arm Bridge. So yeah, it's kind of the thing. So I thought, okay, let's do a tree poetry anthology. And so I've read over, it's got to be 400 poems from all over Tofino, Heshquit, Ucluelet, all the rest of the island, the mainland BC, across Canada, into the States, India, the Philippines, other parts of Europe, and the UK. If you're just writing your own book or your own project, you're in this beautiful creative space, presumably, until you look at it and see how awful it is and how much work you have to do to make it any good at all. And then you deal with your own editor and your own publisher. But if you're doing an anthology, basically I've had, hundreds of submissions. And it's not just poets sending me a poem, it's poets sending me several or even many poems. So it's a lot of reading, and it's all tree poems. So it's been really interesting because you get everybody's different take on trees. You also get a lot of similar things. The other two anthologies I did, I was co-editor. I had a partner helping me edit. So the work is divided, but you get 300 odd poets and you have to do all the rejecting yourself. You have to read all the poems and decide, like, is this a good poem? Is this a great poem? Is this a surprising poem? Is it original? Has this already been said? Are they using the same words everybody else uses for trees? Stalwart, majestic, guardian. These are words that, ow. My mother was a poet. In fact, there is an annual award named after her. The League of Canadian Poets named the Pat Lowther Award after her. This is one of her many books. A lot of her books were published posthumously, and this one came out in 2010. She died in 1975. I went a lot of my life without really being a serious writer at all. It came back. I had some childhood trauma to deal with, and lo and behold, it came back, and mostly in the form of, no, sorry, not this one. This one, 1999, this came out. Very sad child there. New Power came out in 1999. And after that, I took another break. I go through phases, but I think I'm pretty much stuck on poetry now. I fell out of love with poetry. A lot of poetry, especially in Canada, it's like we are maybe too intellectual sometimes. We teach poetry in school, and then the kids get this negative attitude about it. And, if I can't understand it, if it's not accessible to me, still to this day, I have a bit of a negative attitude. If I read some poems and they're just way over my head, well, I just feel stupid. You get some poets on the CBC saying, no, not all poetry should be accessible. Yeah, maybe they're right. I think there's levels for everyone and layers for everyone. And I'm not a super intellectual poet. I'm not gifted like my mother. She was brilliant. She had an incredible brain. Eventually, I fell in love with poetry again. I don't know how it happened. I just hope I'm not embarrassing her memory, to be quite honest with you. Although, getting the Poet Laureate gig was pretty cool. I'm not crazy about being in the limelight, she said as she blabbed on and on and on. It's true, though. It's true, though. Like, I don't even like the sound of my own voice. I'm looking forward to being back on the selection committee, even though this is an honor. I mean, this has been my town for 29 years, and at first, I had enemies. When we first got here, I came to get arrested. I came to join the blockades. I had no plans to live here. Ha ha. And as soon as we got here, we had enemies. Yeah. Back then, well, even now, the town was polarized. And then it seemed to get mellow for a while, and then the egg tree happened. And holy, the hate came back out of the woodwork. But then, after a few years, or maybe 15 years, I joined the roller derby, and we practiced in Ucluelet. And all of a sudden, I had friends and teammates in Ucluelet. It was amazing. It was like, I love Ucluelet. And the Wild Pacific Trail, oh my God, it's so beautiful. Yeah, very inspiring place. Got this poster of a 1993 event, which was a benefit for the Friends of Clayoquot Sound, a benefit for the blockades that were happening. And it was a literary event. And I remember it happened, I think, at the Commodore in Vancouver. And it had all these big name writers, novelists, poets. And it was just, I don't know, it was pretty exciting. And then to find that I had this in storage when I finally got this space, I got all these posters that had been rolled up for years, and then this one is like, oh my God, this is amazing. Put this by the bookshelf. It was all readings. Al Purdy, he's just this amazing, gone now for a long time, but he was Susan Musgrave's mentor, and he got up there and read. He was so gruff, he's this tall old guy. He was just gruff. We're all like, nowadays we're all like trying to read like this, and he was just like blah 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 blah. The first poetry book came out in '99, New Power, and then my next one didn't come out till 2008. And that was called My Nature. And then in between, I co-edited a couple of anthologies, and they weren't poetry. Well, there were a few poems, but they're mainly prose of all different people about living here. One of them is called Living Artfully, and it's about people making art on the West Coast. So that would have been actually really good for this. We did this one. This one came out in 2008 as well, I think. Writing the West Coast in Love with Place. The painting is of the Ike tree before it got its metal girdle, and the painting is by Joanna Streetley. And then in 2011, this one came out, Half-Blood Poems, and it's a Harry Potter poetry book, I'm afraid. 2014, my memoir with Caitlin Press, mostly prose because it is a memoir. Besides the Tree anthology, which is supposed to be coming out with Caitlin Press next spring, so spring of 22, I have my own book of tree poems that I want to put together, and I have another memoir that I want to put together just about what it's like to live in the incredible Tlaloquit Hahuthi. There's also this memoir that I've been working on it for 5 or 6 years now. And it's about the time my sister and I were in foster care. And it's really tricky. The other day I thought, well, what if I took the foster care one and meshed it with the memoir about this place, which would be mostly nature writing, and forced them together. I don't know if that would work, but it might soften the pain that's in the foster care one. I don't know. I never know if anything's any good. I need feedback. I need to show my work to someone. And what do you think of this? And is this too blah, blah, blah? And it's never comfortable for me, mind you. Yeah, it's always like, oh boy, it's writer's group tonight, which is interesting. But I think that's just because I lack confidence. You need the support. And also you need to be there for other people. It's hard though, because sometimes I just want to go, that's a cliche, you total tomfool. You're not supposed to. We have a mandate. This is how you feedback. This is how you provide positive feedback. And then you have to shut your gob when you're getting feedback on your work. You be quiet until everybody's given their say, because this is not an attack and defend. Well, the Clackwit Writers Group have always been a great help. I've mostly been in it since the beginning. A couple times I quit if we had someone who rubbed me the wrong way, but then they left. And it was myself, Shirley Langer, Ellen Tolson, Sherry Marr. Oh, this is terrible. I guess Jan McDougall came along a bit later, and it turned out we were mostly women. And then Greg Blanchette joined, and much later, David Floody, now Janice Lohr, and different people were in there, Adrian Mason. And now we have newcomers, younger. Heather Hendry, I've watched her poetry grow so fast, improve incredibly fast. And it was like that with Janice Lohr too. Just watched her turn into this incredible poet. And Joanna's poetry is incredible, of course. And Jan McDougall's is really good. Sherry's is just so loving, and learning from people like Giselle and Simca. Did you know David Pitbrook, who used to live here? He wrote Chasing Clackwit.
Yes. Okay.
That book is phenomenal. Phenomenal book. I mean, it's pride of place on my bookshelf. He was so busy writing all the time. He used to tell me, I wouldn't wish this writing gig on anyone, Chris, because everybody's out enjoying this place, and I'm sitting in a dark room typing away. And now I know what he means.